Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. The sign out in front tells you that we're moving the brand from WNST, where we have the old hats, to Baltimore Positive in the new hats. We appreciate everybody sticking with us as we'll be launching the new website at some point this weekend as I take off for Houston for an empty stadium. And Ian Eagle has been calling full football games and some empty ones. Made some remarks about Camden Yards 2 decades ago that still hold true. We welcome him in after an empty broadcast. Ian, first things first, welcome back. I'm glad you're safe, glad it's good. And the interesting part is I didn't get to go to the game Sunday. We only had one seat in the press box, so Luke went. So I got to listen to you call the game on Sunday with my cat in bed. Very, very unusual. I like you and all, and I'm used to the sound of your voice, just not during our games because I'm usually there.
Yeah, and Nestor, thank you, because we are really going for the feline demographic.
I know.
So that's a huge.
She loves the team, man. She loves Lamar. Let me tell you what, man. Well,
yeah,
empty stadiums. It's crazy.
It
right?
was weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's no getting around it. It's odd. It's different. You've been going to games for so many years. You understand the juice that you feel and the adrenaline rush that you get when there's 70,000 people there, and even the build-up leading up to it. It's different gears that your brain and body are used to 2 hours before the game, 90 minutes before the game, an hour before the game, and then ramping it up 30 minutes before the game. You can feel the energy building, and there's none of that right now, and we understand why. It's based on a unique set of circumstances. The fact that we're playing games is wonderful. I think for the television audience, it's certainly more than acceptable. In person, it's very surreal.
Well, I'm going to Houston this week. Angelo's took my press pass 15 years ago, so I haven't been to an Orioles game. Luke's done like 20 Orioles games. So, and, he's done practices the last couple of weeks, and he's getting sort of used to it in that way. And we did post game together, and I see the pictures that other people are posting in the empty stadiums, and you see the game itself. Where have you been the last 6 months? Give me a little primer on you, because I think of you and Kenny Albert, all my friends who do what you do for a living. Sports stopped for everybody in every way. If you played lacrosse in high school, it stopped. You play in college, it's basketball, everything stopped.
Sure.
Give me your life the last 6 months, because I would think for you it was the first time you've been in an empty building too, maybe, unless you did some baseball, right?
Yeah, so let's take it back to March. I was on the West Coast. I had just called an NBA game on Turner, Golden State, and the LA Clippers. That was on Tuesday night. I stayed in San Francisco because the Nets were coming to town. I was going to call the Nets and the Golden State Warriors on Thursday night. And that was the game, if you recall, they announced prior there would be no fans. California was cracking down. They were very concerned about the spread of the virus. And that was a strange phone call to get when you started thinking about, wait, we're going to call a game with no fans? So I'm on the phone with my producer. We're trying to figure out exactly where our broadcast location would be so that the players can't hear everything that we're saying at every moment, where the radio broadcasters would be, and what the logistics would look like. On that Wednesday, I had moved hotels from the TNT Hotel to the Nets Hotel. Nets weren't in town yet. They had been playing the Lakers the night before. And I just took a walk with my bags. I said, it's a beautiful day. I'm just going to walk from one hotel to the other. It was 0.8 of a mile. And I'm rolling my bag down the street, and it's the middle of the day on a Wednesday in San Francisco, which is normally teeming with people. And there was nobody on the streets. It was so bizarre. Got to the hotel, went to check in. They said my room wasn't ready. They need about an hour. I ran out to an area where I usually get lunch. Normally, again, lunchtime, middle of the week, packed, nothing. Nobody there. Walked right up to the place that I was going to, ate my lunch in solitude, and then went back to the hotel and stayed in my room, started doing work. I had to fly back the following day after the game to do the A-10 championship game on CBS. So I was doing some prep work.
That's a busy time of year for you, bro, right? Literally.
Yep. Everything changed, Nestor. So that night, Rudy Gobert, Donald Trump came out. Travel ban was in effect for at least airlines that now had to be aware of what was happening overseas. And the game was canceled. The NBA season was postponed. I get on a red eye to fly home that night. I turn around and just get on a red eye. I remember vividly, Nestor, one person that I recall was wearing a mask. One on the plane. That's it. Flew overnight, didn't get a whole lot of sleep. My family, they were in different parts of the world. My daughter was studying in Australia. My wife was visiting her there. My son was in L.A., and I started tossing and turning of the responsibility now to get them safe. So that was the beginning of it. Little did we know how long it would extend from a sports standpoint. The next thing that I did for live event was a game in the bubble down in Orlando for the NBA. NBA on TNT game. It was the Utah Jazz and the New Orleans Pelicans, the first game of the restart. And to think about how much time has passed, it feels like years now. It really does.
When did you go into the bubble, Ian?
I went in late July.
And how long did you live in Orlando then?
I was there 20 days. I did all of the seeding games for TNT. Then I came back to the New York area. I called the net playoff games on Yes, and that was remotely. But I had done a few net games down in the bubble as well. So I was mixing and matching. I ended up calling 10 games in 20 days down there.
Well, you know, all of this, and then the NFL gets to kind of go last, right? So the weirdness of Sunday was long lost on you, right? I mean, that all set in early August for you. But I'm about to get on a plane and fly to Houston, and, you know, you sit in all these press boxes like I do. I was kidding John McClain and Mark Vandermeer that I'm going to sit on the edge of the sliver of the moon on the top of Reliance Stadium on Sunday, and you know, watching. McClain's like, why are you coming down here, you know? And I'm like, well, I've done this my whole life. You know, I've been 35 years doing this. I don't necessarily want to see an empty game. It's next on the calendar, and I feel very compelled to be a part of it. And certainly where the Ravens are in the sports spectrum, it's a very compelling story that the NFL has sort of ripped open here in the last week to sort of provide the opiate for the masses. Everywhere but Cleveland, of course, Ian, right?
Yeah, and I think what you're going to experience, it's very different, of course. The competition is still good. That's the one thing that going in, you never know. The X factor with the NBA were the guys into it. And what I saw from day one, yes, they were keeping score. The stats counted. It's on your resume. They cared. The professional pride kicked in. And that's the same for the NFL. Week one, worked Baltimore, Cleveland. I did the Giants and the Steelers Monday night game on the radio, so I've now had two experiences. Both were similar, except the difference in Baltimore, you know this, broadcast location is very low. When it's a packed house, you can reach out and touch the fans. They can reach out and touch you. You're right in the middle of it. With MetLife, the radio booth is way upstairs, so I had more of a bird's eye view. And now you can really feel the emptiness of 80,000 seats that are open because you can see so many angles of the stadium. Baltimore, you're tucked away a little bit. Yes, you know that it's vast around you, but I felt even stranger on Monday night just based on my point of view and perspective. In Houston, where you're going, you're high up. You're going to feel very detached from what's happening. And look, the fans, for a play-by-play announcer, they provide a guide. They provide a compass. When Lamar Jackson does something incredible, you can't always see it on the live play-by-play as you're looking at so many things. But a gasp from the crowd can be a cue. For me, at least, it had been a cue, especially with Lamar Jackson. And it just changes the way you approach the job and the things that you pay attention to. You're going to have to prioritize what's most important. You can't live in your notes. If you're staring down, you might look up and have no idea what's going on. Again, a crowd can give you a little push. And now it's up to you. Energy-wise, that's completely up to you as a play-by-play announcer. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get fueled from 70,000 plus. So you're going to have to generate it in the moment, and you're going to have to gauge exactly what gear you need to get to and what the highlight calls for.
Ian Eagle is our guest. He called the game on Sunday. He called the game on Monday. And, Ian, it's crazy. I sit here in my basement and just talk to no one all day long. So I'm sort of used to not having the roar of the crowd here and all that. The games themselves, I was geared up as, I think I'm pretty good at this, and I've done this a long time, 25 years of talking about football week in and week out. I really thought it was going to be sloppy all the way around. I thought it was going to look like bad third-quarter football in the first preseason game. Mm-hmm. And it really didn't feel or look that way. And I know the big story this week is, well, we can do away with the preseason now, and there's crappy scrimmages where Jacksonville comes up here and they all get in fights on the back fields and all that nonsense that we've been doing to get ready for football that, Alabama and Auburn and Michigan haven't been getting ready to. They don't play preseason games. The first week was just better, and we haven't had a whole lot going on in life, right? So me looking forward to something at 1 o'clock, or in this case 4:25 on Sunday in Houston this weekend, that's kind of a new weird feeling for me, and I wasn't sure they should play. I'm not still sure they're going to finish, right? But at least for now, I am happy I have an opiate and a soap opera to watch, and my soap opera is better than the one in Cleveland, as you pointed out over the weekend, right?
Yeah, I think teams that have continuity are going to be benefiting a great deal in the early portion of the season. The Baltimore Ravens, there's muscle memory. They know what they're doing. They know how to run their offense. Defensively, guys understand their assignments. Yeah, a few new faces here and there, but it's not a new system. There wasn't an install. It's an addition to what they already had laid the groundwork for. And last year was such a prolific season offensively, there was no reason to believe that it wouldn't continue for the Ravens. And it did. They looked like the team that we recall from the regular season, 14-2 mark, prior to the shocking loss to Tennessee in the playoffs. Cleveland, completely different story. New head coach, new front office, new scheme.
Again.
And it looked again and again and again. It looked like it. It felt like it. I think Kevin Stefanski is really sharp. I think the Browns made an excellent hire, but no preseason did hurt them. And I know we've looked at this in so many different angles with the preseason, and some of the games are brutal. They just have been. That fourth preseason game, it's not a good look for the NFL. It doesn't feel like the NFL. It doesn't look like the NFL. There are empty seats in stadiums across the country when it's normal time. But I do think teams are going to miss it. They miss the reps. They miss the mistakes to get out of their system and the cobwebs to shake off. Ravens aren't one of those teams. They just look the part, and I think there is a real sense of confidence with this group. We know that there are going to be questions until January. That's how it works. Until you can change the narrative, you're going to have to deal with all the queries. But the questions about whether or not this team is set up to be a factor, nobody will question that. They are stacked.
Ian Eagle joining us here. He is, it says on your wiki here, American sports announcer, NBA, NFL, college games on CBS, TNT, TBS, Brooklyn Nets games on the Yes Network, and I did not know this. You called the French Open. How'd you get a gig like that, dude? I went to Roland Garros in 99, man. It was good. A little red clay. I dig me some Paris, some West Paris. That's the way to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This would have been my 15th straight year doing it. Obviously, didn't make it to Paris this year.
I should have gone to Syracuse. See, I knew this. I knew it.
Yeah,
I knew it,
This was your childhood mistake, Nestor. You could have corrected that.
Well, Luke went to Syracuse, so at least half of my team went to Syracuse. So.
Well, he made a good call. Very good choice. Yeah, tennis is it's fun. I played it as a kid, played it in high school, always had an interest in it, was a ball boy as a kid. So when I had a chance to break in with CBS when they had the U.S. Open, I jumped on the opportunity. And then a couple of years after doing that, Tennis Channel got the rights to the French Open. They were looking for a new team, and I was on the ground floor. The first year they went to Paris, I joined them, and I've been with them ever since. They're a great operation, a lot of fun, high-quality people that work there. Tennis people are just interesting. I think individual sports produce very sharp minds because you're always playing the game within the game, not just the physical game, but the mental game that you're dealing with, because there's no coach, there's no teammates, there's no one to lean on. It's just you, mano a mano, so to speak, and you got to really live in the moment. I think that's why you've had so many outstanding tennis analysts and golf analysts, for that matter. They just know their stuff.
Well, I'm partial to Pam Shriver, but she's Baltimore. You know, that's just the way it rolls
She's
around.
Great. I've worked with Pam. I do the U.S. Open with Pam. I worked events at Stanford and in Connecticut with Pam. She's terrific. She's just a pleasure.
Man, how many Hall of Famers have you worked with, man? I'm looking through the list here. It's crazy, man. You've shared the mic with everybody. But for you, when it shuts down and you get your family back from Australia and do all that stuff,
yeah.
The strangest year of our lives, right? Like a real exhale for a cat like you and my buddy Kenny Albert, who are always flying in and out of sports and in and out of load. I don't know how you don't say TNT when you're on CBI, you know, back and forth, right? But the stop for all of us that sports was going to stop, you'd had a hard time convincing me of that at any point in my life, and probably you too, given what we've done for a living.
Oh, certainly. I mean, it's a mentality too big to fail. You have so much money on the line, so much at stake. You just assume that all of these sports could power on, but there was no choice. This was paralyzing, and clearly we still have a long way to go. But it's nice to have the competition back. I think it has been a positive for sports fans to at least look forward to this on whether it's a daily basis or a weekly basis. And my hope is that as we get deeper into this season, we have some solutions in place so that the worry is taken away and eventually the fans can be a part of this again. Because, look, the television product is outstanding. The presentation has been terrific. NBA, baseball, hockey, NFL, soccer, golf, you name it. It's great. But without the fans, you're still missing a huge piece. That's what provides the real sense of place and purpose. It makes it into an event. That's the difference. These are not sporting events in my mind right now. They just aren't. They're games. There's a difference between the two.
Made-for-television presentation. We'll have it in Houston this weekend. Ian, you got the Ravens on your docket anytime soon? Or do you get your prescription 2-3 weeks out? We're doing a lot of national TV this year, man. We got a lot of Thursday and Sunday and Monday going on this year.
Yeah, I do have a Monday night game on the radio coming up with Baltimore.
That would be the Mahomes game. Wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one to be a part of. So
well, I will make sure you don't get a crappy tourist crab cake when you're in my town, and we'll be socially distanced. All right. I appreciate you. Bring me some good pizza down from Brooklyn. I have Pizza John's here. It's fantastic, but there's something about you doing Nets games and knowing where you go to do them, and knowing that like every slice of pizza I've had within 10 blocks of that joint's pretty good.
You know, it's all in the water, Nestor. Truly, that's what makes the difference.
It's a Hudson River thing. Is that what you're telling me?
It is. Yeah, that dough. You put a little bit of that New York water in there, it changes the whole flavor and texture.
I'll see you in 2 weeks, and you may have 2-0 and 2-0, and Lamar and Mahomes. We can only hope for good things around here. Stay safe in your travels. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. We'll see you soon. All right.
Yeah, have a safe trip. I look forward to hearing about your travels, and we'll do it again another time.
I'm going to make you come on Zoom next time and give you a free reign. And,
just give me ample time.
Just put a TNT ball cap on. You lived in a bubble for a month, for crying out loud. Nobody cares what your hair looks like.
All right, pal.
Love you, Ian. Appreciate you, brother. Great having you on.
Okay, Nestor.
Appreciate the story. Ian Eagle joining us here. TNT, TBS, CBS, all of them. And the Brooklyn Nets. He eats great pizza, as he does as well in the Army-Navy games. We appreciate him taking some time coming. He'll be back in Baltimore for hopefully undefeated versus undefeated. I'm headed to Houston this weekend, to the roof, to the moon. Looking down on the Astrodome, which they thought would never be possible. And I'll be in Houston. Luke will be in Owings Mills or wherever they let him be. He's also at Baltimore. Luke, and on social media. I am Nasty at WNST.net. Big appreciation for all of our guests coming together, having a little fun here this week as the Ravens had some fun on Sunday. 1-0, onward and upward. We're merging WNST.net with Baltimore Positive. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking. Baltimore Ravens, Baltimore sports, and Baltimore Positive.